My earliest memory of Sparks is watching the British music show Top of the Pops, which I guess I started watching when I was like 3 years old. And in 1979, when I was 5 years old, I remember seeing Sparks on the show because they cut a very distinctive, like, they were very distinctive looking guys, and they're also staring down the camera at you, which is quite disconcerting when they're kind of sandwiched between happy, smiley pop acts. So I remember the visuals of Sparks. And then separately from that, my parents used to buy me and my brother these K-Tel chart compilations on vinyl with like these kind of 20 track albums, 10 tracks aside. And one of them had Beat the Clock by Sparks on it. So then at the tender age of 5, I was listening to Beat the Clock by Sparks a lot and not necessarily understanding the lyrics, but really enjoying the vibe of it. Not that I would have known what the word vibe meant when I was 5 years old. Why I wanted to make this documentary is because I felt that Sparks as a band did not have the trajectory of any other band that I could think of. Like most bands who started in the 70s may have like had their golden years in the 70s and then started to sort of tail off and have that kind of like rise and then fall, rise and fall and rise again. And Sparks has sort of got a very sort of strange career where they're sort of like a career of like constant ups and downs and left turns. And then amazingly, they just seem to be making stuff that's as good as what they did in the first place. And but it keeps getting bolder and more ambitious. And they don't seem like daunted by anything. They sort of found like a way to exist where they don't have to really answer to anybody. And it's an odd thing to see a band who are in their fifth decade to still be gathering younger fans. So seeing all of that happen and being at gigs of theirs with a really diverse age range to the crowd, I just felt that theirs was a story that needed telling. The first time I met Ron and Russell was quite magical for me because like after having been a fan of theirs for decades and them being somewhat enigmatic characters, and with a lot of rock stars you don't even think that they live on planet Earth. You don't, think that they actually exist in the real world. But one day in 2015, I was writing Baby Driver, and my friend, the screenwriter Michael Bacall, was in the office with me. And the conversation turned, as it frequently did with me, to Sparks. And he knew one song, and I said, "Oh, you've got to listen to this album." So that very quickly turned to a Sparks marathon. And then whilst we were listening to a lot of classic Sparks, I said, "Oh, I wonder if Sparks are on Twitter." And so I looked at their Twitter page and it said, "Sparks follows you." And this was major because to me, they were like the JD Salingers of rock. So I just like messaged them immediately, said, "Hey, is this actually the band? I'm such a huge fan." And Russell replied, said, "Yeah, this is Russell. We love your movies." And then within 48 hours, I was meeting them for breakfast and at Russell's house.